Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. Gerry, Max, Terry, we're all here. We're gonna shift gears a little bit. I'll be honest, trying to figure out what other segment to do today, it was not easy because pretty much most of the talking points about Everton were covered in the match review. That's what mainly is what's going on with Everton right now. However, we've decided to kind of bring someone out of the shadows, so to speak. Max mentioned Idrissa Gueye got man of the match against Chelsea. Played a really good game, but he's probably on the way out. All right. And I know once James McCarthy played against Gourmaya in that full game, everybody's thinking, oh, he's going to be back in the squad a lot more. We're going to see a lot more James McCarthy because we had not been seeing a lot of Schneiderlin. Schneiderlin was nowhere. And so everybody's expecting McCarthy to be reintegrated and Schneiderlin to basically leave during the winter. And all of a sudden, Morgan Schneiderlin is a fully contributing member of the squad now. He looks Max's long-term commitment to Man Crush Morgan has paid off so far. All right.
I like them both. I like them both an awful lot.
But so Morgan Schneiderlin's, I guess, resurgence has left McCarthy in a really weird spot. So, we're talking about a passionate player who has dealt with some pretty one particularly harsh injury, but some other, a lot of niggling injuries for a while. Now, let's pretend like if we had the squad the way it is right now, and somebody said, you got to sell or keep James McCarthy, what do you do with him, Max?
Like I said, for me, it entirely depends on whether Idrissa Gueye's getting that move to PSG or not. I'm a huge fan of James McCarthy in Martinez's first season when he went. Obviously James McCarthy was one of the first players that he brought to the club. To me, he was player of the season that year. Alongside Gareth Barry in central midfield, and I know he might not got the same dynamic with, say, Andre Gomez there, but he proved just how much of a effective player he can be, both defensively and offensively with his drives forward. It's quite sad to see. I was looking at his appearances since signing for the club. Been on us for the last 5 seasons, and just due to injury, I think his groin and another problem that he's had, the numbers of appearances have just gradually gone down and down and down over the seasons. 34 in his first season, 28 in his second, 29 in his third, 12 in his fourth, 4 in his fifth, and that's it. He's not played this season. It's a really sad case, to be fair, because I personally think he's an absolutely fantastic player when he's fit and on form. But as I say, I personally do feel at the moment Idrissa Gueye is our most important player. If we can keep him, that would be ideal. But it's looking likely that he is going to go to PSG, and James McCarthy does need to be given some, proper consideration.
Really quick, Max, if we replace Idrissa Gueye with someone like a Decore or something like that type of player, does McCarthy stay on?
Probably, because I think if McCarthy was indicating of showing levels of form, such as in his first season, or anything similar to some of the performances that you see Decore turning for Watford, then I think you consider him. But obviously, I genuinely don't think we do Watford business with Watford again after the whole shenanigans over compensation, the whole beef over Richarlison. I personally don't think it'll happen. But if we were to get, say, a Decore in, I do think that would probably spell the end for McCarthy.
Yeah, I just give Decore as an example because we know that Silva, they're like buddies, and he loves them. Terry, what do you think about this whole situation? What do you think we're going to do with McCarthy? Because, McCarthy's opinion is pretty important in all this as well.
I think he'll go. I think we'll sell him. For how much, I don't know, considering, the bargaining position's not going to be very good, considering his last couple of years. Max said there, when he first came into the club, he was outstanding. He was one of our best players, and we missed him when he wasn't playing. Like, I think when we were chasing fourth in Roberto Martinez's first season, it really fell apart against Crystal Palace because we played a game without McCarthy in centre midfield and just got overrun. He was that important that a game without him cost us big. But it's got to be said, that was, 5-6 years ago. It's like, it's not, it's verging now into Jack Wilshere territory, not in the sense of, he gets injured every 2 minutes, but it's like, he's a good player, but when do you get to see it? When do you get to play him? I don't know what's gone on this season. I genuinely thought, I may have said this in a much earlier episode, but I thought we'd see him throughout Christmas. I thought that Gor Maria game, he comes back and thought just around Christmas week, when all the players we've got, so a lot of the new players are going to be not used to that. A lot of not just players in centre midfield either, but like Luca Dean, Bernard, everyone, they're all going to be really flagging to have a midfielder come in fresh with the energy that McCarthy had. I thought that'd be nailed on, but he still hasn't. He's not even making many benches now. So I just don't think the club see him as him as having a future here. And I think he's one of the players who you probably will get another Premier League club come in for because he is a good player on his day. The club will take a chance on him at a probably reduced fee because of the injuries, but I don't know. I think he could be a player here, but it's a long, the reality is it's a long shot that he's even going to be, fit most of the time, because that horrific leg break wasn't the only injury he had. Before that, he had a spell where he was constantly picking up, muscle injuries, and he'd get back just in time for an Ireland squad, and he'd go away with it, and he'd come back injured again, and we had our managers falling out with the Ireland managers, and I just think his time at Everton is up. Good player, still got something to offer, but clearly I think Silva brings the players who he sees as his guys around him and uses them, and the ones who aren't, you don't hear from them, you don't see from them. And McCarthy has just been going to training every day for months now, fully fit and ready to play, and he's not even making the squads. Yeah. So I think that's a big indicator that he's probably going to be out the door, and we're going to bring in other players to replace him. I don't think the Idrissa Gueye situation changes. I think Brands and Silva might just look at players in isolation. And McCarthy probably wants to go as well, because he probably feels like he should have contributed more and he could have contributed more now, but he's not been playing.
Yeah. I think we're going to buy Gomez. I do. And I do think Idrissa Gueye is going to go. And I think we'll buy a player to replace Idrissa Gueye, but not in the exact same mold. Same thing we were talking about earlier, guys. I think it'll be because Silva likes to play a certain way, and he likes those players to be a certain mold of player. I do think it'll be someone in a Decore type of mold, but I don't really think it'll be Decore, Max, like you were saying. I think Tom Davies, he'll stay, and I think Morgan Schneiderlin has worked his way back in. So at this point, I just don't know where the room is for McCarthy to play. Now, you're right. I actually put on here, what if do we think he'll ever recapture that first season of Martinez form? You know what I mean? Which is hard to figure out because he's older. He's had injuries, and none of us are psychic as far as I know. So trying to predict that, I don't know. But so many muscle injuries down the road, it's hard to have that. He plays a position where...
Yeah, I was going to say, so many muscle injuries when your game is predicated on covering ground.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's not going to do your legs any favours, is it?
It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, I realize if we get a different type of player than an Idrissa Gueye, we won't necessarily need a straight-up ball winner the way Idrissa Gueye has been, but that was still part of McCarthy's game. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to envision him becoming the exact same player. I agree. I think he'll go somewhere and he'll get a starting role somewhere, and he may even have a decent little career. I just don't think we'll see the same player that we saw his first year. And for that, he's a guy I like. I do. Any kind of negative feelings I had toward him for kind of going off and getting injured. You know, they've kind of subsided because of his injuries, and I'm pulling for him now. You know what I mean? I want him to do well, but I just think I think he's moving on. I do. And if Schneiderlin had not come in, I may be singing a different tune right now. But Schneiderlin become a different guy.
I thought that McCarthy would come in ahead of Schneiderlin eventually, because on paper McCarthy is very much a Marco Silva type player. He's not just a tackler; he is a sort of all-action box-to-box player who can contribute going in both directions, which is why it surprised me that he's not really featured. I would have thought that, not exactly like Decore, but that sort of template of a player that, you know, picks it up on the edge of his own box but can also be effective on the edge of the opposition box and, you know, all over the pitch. He seemed the tailor-made Marco Silva central midfielder, but hasn't kicked the ball other than that friendly. So it must be that he just doesn't see a long-term future. Maybe the club themselves have decided that they're not willing to, carry on with him with all the, the aggro with the island squads and that. I mean, that's a little bit conspiracy theory, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those players where if he ended up, kicking it in gear in training and Silva sees that, it seems like Silva rewards that. He sees it and he does reward these sorts of things. So I don't think Silva is a dumb guy. I think he's a pretty sharp guy who really cares and is not on vacation every chance he gets. I think he's usually at training. Yeah, that was a dig. But
I get it.
but I think he does reward players, the ones that he feels like are doing the most work for his system. And if McCarthy's working hard, and if he feels like he deserves it, then he'll get a shot. Now, of course, we'd be delighted if that happens. Right now, it's just not looking like it because there's not a lot of season left. So, anyway, respect to James McCarthy, but I don't know. It may be a mutual thing. Both sides decide we need to part. So anyway, we all like him though. Hey. All right, so enough about James McCarthy. That was our glimpse into the darkest depths of the squad right now, sadly for James. But we do think he'll end up being a starter somewhere, some point soon. So that's it. That's our final video segment for this series of videos. Pop on over to the podcast if you want to hear a quiz. If you know your history between Terry and Max, it'll be. I don't think it's going to be as easy as before, but I think they'll do fine. They always do. So if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We sincerely appreciate it. If you want more Terry, Liverpool Echo fan Gerry, check his Twitter. He'll tell you when he's there. If you want more Max, check his Twitter. He'll tell you when he's going to be, all the many places he shows up. But also, Toffee Blues website, he does analysis on there often, so check that out. Guys, let's go do a quiz. All right. Bye.